Right now?
right now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Nerdosphere. I'm one of your hosts, Clayton, joined as always by my brother, the biggest palate this side of the Mississippi, Corbin.
Hello. I'm really nervous. I hope my mustache is primped enough for this live episode we're recording.
It looks wonderful.
Shit. It looks like shit.
We are also joined, as always, by our bestest friend, mustacheless Tim.
I'm glad you noticed. I'm a weak man. Last week I said I looked awful. I couldn't take it anymore. This weekend, wave the white flag. It's done. It's gone.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Why did you do that?
He gave
Because
up.
it looked terrible, and it wasn't going to get better. It was just going to get long and creepy. I was already in that
territory. You don't let it get wrong and creepy. You trim it and keep it short.
I mean, that's true when you have volume, but when you have when you can count the hairs and you look like a catfish, there's only so much you can do in that situation.
You're just in your own head too much.
Yeah, I am. You're right. I do look better. I look good though. I look better this way.
No, I preferred the version where where we call people the Suicide Squad for seeing your awful stash. That version of you is better than this version.
I prefer the version where I don't see your face, actually.
That's true. That's also very true.
All right. Well, how's everybody doing? I mean,
so I'm doing great. First and foremost, if you listened to us last week, you got to see how red my knees were. So they're peeling now, which is great and awesome and attractive. Also, if you can see, do you see this bruising on my arm? Can you see that?
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. I want to move the camera, but I'm scared that I'll lose its position forever. I went and got blood drawn today as part of my doctor visit. So hopefully next Tuesday is my follow-up appointment. We'll have maybe some answers on what's going on. Now so it's very important to understand that this place that I went to is an establishment that the Riz Show talks about all the time, which is a popular radio show here in St. Louis, Missouri. And it's a place called Mentality. And so their whole shtick is to test for low testosterone. But in the process of doing that, they run other tests as well, just to kind of see what's going on. And so while I don't think that I have low testosterone, at the very least, the blood work they're doing will give me a better idea of where I am health-wise.
Was this the poop visit?
It was.
You went to a specialty men clinic that's hey, we're going to boost your testosterone. For poop issues?
It's for all
pooping too much.
It's for all the above. I got other stuff going on.
What was the doctor's? You have to walk us through a little bit of this appointment. You sit down. You say, "Hey, doctor, I poop too much." What was the first reaction?
No, I'm not going to talk to you about my doctor visit.
You just said that next week you're going to give us the insight.
Yeah,
I just want to know how his reaction was to you saying you poop too much.
Very professional. A lot better than what you're doing right now, you jerk.
He's not a professional.
I'm not a professional. And last week on the podcast, you said, I'm going to give you guys the lowdown on my doctor.
Because I thought I'd have answers today, but they have to send off my blood to the lab to be tested and stuff. So you're not getting the lowdown today. And if anything, we talked about
prayers.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. They need your thoughts and prayers. Can't tell you. I don't know if I told both of you guys on the podcast, but there was a day where I went to go get coffee and I jokingly thought to myself, I'm probably not going to make it to work. And I didn't. And I needed to pull over. And there was road construction that had to make me do a detour. And the detour took me through the sketchiest part of East St. Louis. And I had to get out of my car in the heart of East St. Louis at gas stations that have barred windows, look like they're basically falling apart. I'm surprised they're even open for business. They're probably not. It's probably a front for other things. And I ran to the bathroom and it was scary. I might have tetanus from going to this bathroom. I was hovering like Michael Jackson over the toilet seat because I didn't trust it. It was awful. I didn't know what was worse. I almost shat my pants from the coffee, but in the process of trying to relieve myself, I almost shat my pants. I was so scared.
All right.
I have no words for that.
I don't either.
I have no words for that.
How are you guys doing? Are your poop do your poops find you well?
Poops find me very well. I got Jody our anniversary present early this year. We're about to celebrate 11 years.
Oh,
And so I bought her a
her
juicer because she's been talking about wanting to juice.
Mm.
And that has been surprisingly awesome. Like I was like, this is not going to be our thing. This is going to be one of those gifts I buy and it's cool for, 2 or 3 times. And then it just kind of sits there. No, she's making like legit juices every day. And it's a game changer, dude. I would have always said I'm a smoothie guy. Not anymore. Juice all the way.
I mean, it sounds like fun. Ballpark. How much did it set you back? This juicer.
Oh, so you know me. I did a lot of research. I overanalyzed it. I went with a high-end juicer, and it was about $400. So I went for high end. Originally, I was going to buy her one that was like $150. And as I did a lot of research, those act more like blenders. You get a ton of waste. Like the yield is like a fraction of what you get on a high-end one. And it's kind of expensive to juice. It takes a lot of fruit and veggies. So I think long-term, going with a nice juicer is probably the way to go.
To be honest, $400 is cheaper than I thought in my imagination of what an expensive juicer would be. So that gives me a good frame of reference because I would love to have an overly expensive novelty in my kitchen, like a juicer.
Yeah, I mean, so we like to go to First Watch most weekends, and the kids go and they get juice, and it's like $5 for a glass of juice. I'm like, all right, screw that. We're not doing that anymore. We're just gonna make our own juice at home, and it's awesome.
You're such a dad.
I know.
We're not going to a restaurant to be wined and dined with food that I can make at home. I will make this delicious 5-star restaurant quality.
So, but here's the thing: I've got a juicer now that's legit. I've got a pellet grill that I think my barbecue's better than a lot of the barbecue I go out and get. Like, I'd rather make my own steak than go to a restaurant at this point of life. So, yes, you're right.
That's not what your daughters say whenever I'm over there for dinner.
That's because they're shits. That's why.
Yeah, you cooked this bad.
Clayton probably agrees. Clayton's got a pellet grill now.
I do have a pellet grill, and it's phenomenal.
What's a pellet grill?
It's
like a smoker.
Grill that is a smoker, uses wood pellets to heat and smoke your meat.
It's like an egg, but not an egg.
Kind of.
Kind of. I mean, an egg, I think, still uses charcoal, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, it doesn't use pellets.
See, when I hear the word pellet, I immediately think about the time where my mouse Mary had all these protruding tumors on his body because mice food typically has corn in it, but corn is also cancerous to mice. And I was like, I have to put him out of his misery because he's waddling around from all these tumors that literally sprung up like overnight. And so I took my little brother's pellet gun and I put it in front of Mary's face. And Mary, had his cute little hands. He was touching the barrel and sniffing it. And it took so long for me to actually pull the trigger because also my mice grew up around my rats. So my mice had actual personalities and they would come to their names and stuff. And so this was really hard for me to do. And I finally got the courage to shoot and I pulled the trigger and the safety was on. And so then I had to turn the safety off and then do it again. And then Mary got bopped with a pellet.
This got so dark so quick.
All I could think about was the scene from Napoleon Dynamite when the cat's like
the cow.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's relatable. It's very accurate. It's a very accurate representation of killing a loved pet.
Man, that got dark. I'm gonna brighten it. We decided this weekend to check out Jungle Cruise. And I'm real quick, just for a second, I'll give you a spoiler-free review on Jungle Cruise. It is way better than I expected. I went into it thinking, this is going to kind of be a waste of $30. It's on Disney Plus Premium or whatever they call that platform right now. And we finally decided to do it, and it's really fun. It would be a really good blend between Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean. So if you like Indiana Jones, if you like Pirates of the Caribbean, you're probably going to really enjoy Jungle Cruise. There's a couple of parts with the story that are a little bit clunky, but the visual effects are great. Dwayne Johnson is really good. He's super funny in the movie. And Emily, is it Emily Blunt?
Mm-hmm.
Is Emily Blunt.
She is classically gorgeous. I mean, she is like beautiful in the most classical sense, and she's so good in the movie. So if you're on the fence, you can go either way with this one. If you wanted to wait until it was free on Disney Plus, I get that. But if you're interested in that movie, you're definitely not going to be disappointed by spending $30 and supporting the project. It is super fun. It's about 2 hours long. It doesn't feel that way. Tons of great action. My kids were cracking up and enjoying it. So yeah, definitely worth your time.
I have only seen good chatter about it, so take that for what it's worth.
Does it look like it's going to be franchised? I mean, I assume it's going to be. It's Disney, let's be real. But do you get the sensation that it can be an organic story moving forward outside of this first film?
I do. They did kind of leave it open to where you could have multiple films following it. And I actually I'd like to see another one. It's definitely worth it. To me, it's not as good as Jumanji, but it's on the same plane, at least.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned Pirates of the Caribbean, which I definitely get the vibes from a little bit. And you mentioned Indiana Jones, but I feel like the movie it probably is closest to, and I want you to say how it compares to, is actually Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, because you have the character archetypes down to a T. You've got the studious sister who wants to go on the adventure and is kind of leading the charge. You have the swashbuckling, charming hero character, and then you have the annoying brother who's along for the ride.
The character trope makes sense. That structure makes sense. The rest of it feels way closer to Pirates of the Caribbean than The Mummy.
Okay. Because I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, this looks like a reskin of The Mummy with Pirates of the Caribbean villains.
Yeah. No spoilers. It's definitely more like Pirates of the Caribbean than The Mummy. In the best of ways. Maybe
we'll get a pirate cruise crossover.
You could potentially do something like that, I think.
Even though I don't know what time zone, time date, what time period. That's what I'm looking for. Time period. Yeah. Jungle Cruise is in.
Jungle Cruise takes place around World War I. It's in between World War I and World War II. Yeah. You're not going to get like a true pirate crossover, but you could. I'm going to say you could. I don't want to spoil the film, but there are different time frames that come into play, and a lot of them are pirate driven. So you could have a crossover.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Captain Barbossa. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I like the sound of that. Clayton, what have you watched recently?
Good God, you're so loud.
Sorry.
It's excited.
What have I watched? Man, I don't know. What have I not watched? I started Doom Patrol.
How far are you before I ask my question?
I just finished the first season.
Okay. Are you liking it?
I am.
It's not at all like the DC streaming shows.
It's not. It embraces comic bookness. That's the only way I can describe it. I don't know. It's really, really good. It's very character driven. It doesn't shy away from the oddities that occur in comic books. For example, this doesn't give anything away. They don't shy away from the fact that these characters have not aged in 70 years, because a lot of them got their powers like in the 20s or 50s or 60s, and it's 2020 in the show and they're still the same age. So like they don't shy away from the fact that comic book heroes just stay timeless throughout their run. So I thought that was kind of cool. But it's very character driven. Brendan Fraser is awesome. That's actually kind of what motivated me to watch it, was all the new chatter of Brendan Fraser getting cast in Martin Scorsese's new movie. And I was like, well, I'm going to go check this out to support him because it's something he's actually doing. So,
which also good for him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a true kind of like life-changing thing for him. He was I was watching an interview where he was doing interviews with like fans and stuff online, and he was talking about, he was like very cutely was like, I'm actually kind of nervous. I was like,
Yeah.
that, Doom Patrol, I think, is the first thing he's done in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was on a show or something like that on HBO, I think, for a short stint. Yeah. But
so, yep, that's what I've been watching. Been watching anime as usual. I don't watch that much anime, but I do watch anime.
Fuck you.
To Your Eternity is so awesome. Boruto's getting really good. My Hero Academia is getting really good. Man. So, yeah, I've been playing lots of games. That's how I've been occupying my time.
So speaking of anime, the Star Wars trailer that dropped today looked incredible.
It looks phenomenal.
Dude, it looks so fucking good. There's 7 different anime studios doing their own story. So like none of them are actually tied to each other. Each one's gonna have their own animation style. They're gonna be self-contained little bubbles. And in true anime fashion, there's a scene where a person just has like a skeleton of an umbrella with like 20 lightsabers spinning. And I was like, if that's not the most fucking anime thing you've ever seen in your goddamn life, it's glorious. It's going to be so great.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know anything about the project, and I don't know if you guys do or not. Are these going to be miniseries? Are they movies?
It is.
How are these 7 things broken down?
They're one shots. So it's 7 episodes.
Like What If?
Yeah,
gotcha.
Like What If,
but better because it has cool animation and not stupid animation.
Yeah.
Like
the animation
What If
does look very cool.
And hopefully it's a huge success and they make more because it looks amazing.
It made me think, a long time ago, we talked about, there are some properties that feel tailor-made for anime. If anime maybe became a little bit more culturally accepted or culturally popular. So like Star Wars definitely feels like something that would thrive in the anime world. So I'm excited for that. Harry Potter. I think, Corbin, you've thrown that out there several times. Harry Potter would be incredible as an anime.
It is a match made in heaven with anime. The way that J.K. Rowling describes things and the way that battles happen, like it literally is as animated as an anime. It would be so perfect if we had a Harry Potter anime.
So I'm super hopeful that this ends up being a huge success, because maybe it opens the door for some of these other classic properties to say, yeah, you know what? We'll roll the dice. We'll do the same thing. Because man, I do think there's a lot out there that would be awesome through the lens of anime.
And to your point, anime is becoming more and more mainstream.
I was going to say the last My Hero film and Demon Slayer are testaments to that fact in North America.
Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more things become anime. Actually, there was some anime news. Adult Swim is looking to partner with Japanese anime studios and release anime here first.
Interesting.
They want to do some original anime and release it here first and then dub it for them.
Ooh, that would be fun, because one of the biggest criticisms of sub purists is because it's the way the creative process works, is that the voice actors are in the studios with the animators. And so that is the truest expression and representation of what's happening. That would be cool. That'd be a little death. I like that.
Yep.
I feel like we got a lot of anime news over the past week.
In fact, My Hero Academia has been acquired by Lionsgate to be get a live action adaptation. When I first heard the news, based on the director, I assumed it was going to be like the Attack on Titan movie, which would make it a Japanese movie, which would mean it would just be awful. Their movies are awful. They're so far behind Western cinema, it's not even funny. But it's actually being made here. So I'm,
which means it's probably going to be awful. I mean, let's.
I mean, to be honest, I mean it
It
is
has a
Lion,
chance
it,
at least.
it is Lionsgate. They gave us, they gave us Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and shit like that. But I feel like it has a higher chance. At the very least, it will look better. So there's that.
But
Yeah,
at what
and then-
cost?
Everything.
What did it?
Everything.
What did it cost?
Everything.
Uh,
Just fucking everything.
And then this has been in the works for a while. We started talking about this before the pandemic, I believe, but Funimation and Crunchyroll, that deal is finally done. They are going to be one. They've already had an announcement saying they're working on figuring out what the plan is to combine platforms, which surprised me. I thought that they were going to keep the platforms separate and, figure out a way to slice and dice content. No, it's going to be
No, they want to
one
be
platform.
the anime stop.
And in fact, there are some rumors that are indicating that the biggest reason they want to move quickly on this is because they want to start adding different tiers to your PlayStation Plus membership. And this would be in a higher tier of PlayStation Plus where you would just get this platform in addition to everything else with your monthly payment. Making PlayStation like the go-to place to stream anime, which would be fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If they've owned Funimation for a while now, and that app still is kind of janky on the PlayStation, so it would be nice for them to actually put effort in having like a true anime hub that primarily functions on the console. That would be just so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, very
Yes.
cool. Lots of good stuff in the world of anime coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
I should maybe watch an anime. I'm having an anime conversation after watching 2/3 of Attack on Titan and then quitting.
Mm-hmm.
You would like My Hero.
You would like
I
My
just-
Hero.
I just need to switch gears at this point. I'm so far removed from Attack on Titan. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just, I was like, At towards the end, I'm like, yeah, like I kind of get the gist of the story at this point.
No, you
Even
don't.
as it was,
You really don't.
Even as it, even
You
as it
don't.
was,
You have no
even as
idea.
it was
You have no
evolving.
idea.
You have
You
no
really
idea.
don't.
Even as it's evolving, I'm so far removed right now. Like I'm afraid to dive back into it because I forgot a bunch of shit at this point. It's been
Yeah, just
months
start
since
over.
I watched an
It's
episode.
fine.
Just start
Well,
over.
no, there's the recap movie he could watch.
Yeah, you could watch the recap movie. It's
It's
almost
like an
it's
hour.
almost as long as just watching the seasons 1, 2, 3.
No,
That's not true.
No.
But you should honestly
It's
should.
obnoxiously long for a recap movie.
I mean, yeah, but it's also recapping 3 seasons of content in an hour. I mean, it's like an hour.
You could
and
go
a
to
half.
YouTube and get a 5-minute what happened up until now in Attack on Titan.
That's true. They really try to go the extra mile, and like Armin is narrating it, and like it's a true like narrative production.
Yeah.
It definitely is not just like
Is-
last time on Attack on Titan.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like this is Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
nice.
But
And,
My Hero is right up your alley. We've said it ad nauseum, but if you love superheroes and you love things like Harry Potter, because you're following a group of students as they are going through a really unique world. Harry Potter, you're following wizards and witches as they're learning how to be wizards and witches. You're watching superpowered people learn to become superheroes, and you get true character progression like you do in Harry Potter, where the characters at the beginning of season 1 to where they are now, everyone has had growth. Even the lesser characters in the background have had story arcs. It's incredibly impressive. It is probably one of the best written things I've consumed.
And people right now are raving about the Witcher anime, which I think is on Netflix, right? People are saying it's very good, that if you like the video game or if you enjoyed the first season of The Witcher anime, like you got to check it out. So
To be honest, I didn't even realize it was out.
I didn't
lots
either.
lots of good stuff. Same thing with the Resident Evil anime on Netflix. People are saying that's very good. I think that's pretty short in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, people are excited about it right now, which is cool. I think it's cool for them to try and tap into different fan bases to get them introduced to the genre. So like, hey, let's focus on some classic video games and try to make that into an anime and see if we get people to bite. And hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
You want to know what's a match made in heaven for anime? Zelda.
Tell me. It is, and it. Yeah, you're right,
It
because it's the one medium where you could get away with the main character not talking.
Yep.
And it'd be okay. It would be like Samurai Jack on steroids. Where instead of hearing Baku, you just hear.
Did you just say Baku?
I did.
Like
I forgot
we're watching
name.
Black Panther.
Oh, good stuff.
Well, if you didn't know, this is interesting.
Well, if you didn't know, this is the Nerdosphere, where a podcast that discusses anything from the big screen to the small screen and everything in between, whether it be movies, shows, games, books. If you can nerd out about it, we're going to talk about it. And tonight, we're going to be discussing the continuing changes and developments that the Delta variant has imposed on our content consuming ability, in particular with movies. We see studios scrambling again and still to come up with a viable release strategy to make releasing content in this pandemic viable, because we can't keep pushing things back or we'll never see James Bond.
Which might be okay.
Dude, at this point, I don't even think people realize that there's a James Bond movie that is just done.
If we didn't
It's been
talk
done
about
for a
it,
year.
yeah, if we didn't talk about it every week almost, like jokingly, I probably would have forgot about it as well.
I mean, we're really far removed from Spectre too, so it's going to be weird to go in and watch a movie that's the last in the series for Daniel Craig. And what's Spectre, like 6 or 7 years old at this point? I think
It's old.
That old? 6 or 7?
I think it's like 6 years old, if I had to guess.
Fact check that for me. Is it really that old?
It up.
Now, I do know we went through that weird hiatus.
2015. It is gonna be. It was November 6th, 2015. So it is gonna be 6 years old this November.
Damn.
Long time.
Okay, yeah, that's a long time. Because we went through that phase where Daniel Craig was like, I'm done. And they started interviewing actors to take over. And then he was like, maybe I'm not done. And they stopped interviewing actors and were like, well, do you want to do this movie? He was like, well, maybe. And they're like, well, we'll like meander over a script. And they did that for a few years. And they're like, you ready? And he's like, yeah, I got nothing else going on. And then they did it. And then now it's just
been on the shelf for a year and a half.
I feel like it's been longer than a year and a half. Hasn't it been like 2 years?
No, I mean, it was supposed to come out during COVID.
What's the name of it?
Oh, that is
007
James
new
Bond.
movie, No Time to Die. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Maybe.
That's it.
Is that the one where Billie Eilish did the song for?
I think so.
Which that feels so long ago, where they were like,
that was more than a year ago.
They're a part of the marketing hype train. They were like, we've got the new song.
It was originally supposed to come out in April 2020. Pushed it back to November and then push it back to April of this year. And obviously that has not happened. And it's now scheduled to release the 30th of September.
September. Okay, so maybe the end of next month. Put a big asterisk next to that, though, because
didn't Amazon buy the rights?
Going down. I think they did buy the rights, but I don't know if they got the rights to the new film in that purchase.
Oh.
Otherwise, I'm positive we would be talking about an Amazon Prime release.
I have a article here. Amazon just bought No Time to Die in an $8.45 billion deal.
They really overpaid.
Amazon bought the Hollywood film studio MGM, so they bought the whole studio. Amazon owns MGM.
That's a Disney move right there. Like, you have one product that we really want, so we're gonna buy the whole house.
It would have been amazing if Disney would have done that with Sony. Like, let's be real. It would have been exponentially better.
We kind of thought it was going to happen. And there was actually probably a small window where in an alternate reality it did happen, because Sony was really struggling there for a minute. If it wasn't for the PlayStation, Sony would have been.
We did a whole episode. It was the most unusual episode we did for the Nerdosphere, but Clayton and I dug into the analytics of Sony Entertainment, and they were struggling so bad to turn profits on all of their films they thought about selling the entire film division and just be a tech company. But the two things they were waiting to see how they perform was Spider-Man Homecoming and the Emoji Movie. Well, because
there's a
of
lot riding on that Emoji Movie, let me tell you.
but because Marvel Studios produced Spider-Man, it became their very first billion-dollar film. They're like, oh, we can do this. And then Avi Arad was out there jizzing in his office to a Spider-Man poster and was like, I can finally make Venom now. I can finally make Venom and the Sinister Six. And then Sony was like, well, let's like simmer down. He's like, no. And he's jizzing everywhere because he just like, he has no chill when it comes to Spider-Man. He's like, can I make my Aunt May film where she's a secret spy? And Kevin Feige was
Morbius.
like, and then Kevin Feige was like, I will not work on Spider-Man if Avi Arad is in the room. And they made that happen. And so Avi Arad has not touched any of the Spider-Man movies, but he's all over the fucking other movies. He's on Mobius. He is on Venom. And you can tell because they're fucking shit films. And he's a goddamn awful producer. And he doesn't get the property.
It's so funny that he still has a job with how much money he's lost that company. Like, how does he still have a job?
Every time Spider-Man has needed to reboot, it's been because of Avi Arad's meddling. Spider-Man 3 was a train wreck because Avi Arad got involved and wanted to push Venom, but Sam Raimi had no emotional connection to that villain, didn't think it fit in the story, but he pushed, and so Sam said, okay, fine. And Sam had an idea of how to incorporate the Sinister Six and it be okay. But because the third film was received the way it was, they chose to not proceed forward. They go and they hire Mark Webb, who's coming off of the critical success of 500 Days of Summer. And they're like, hey, we want to make more of an emotional story. Do you think that you can take the human elements of like a rom-com and interject them into a superhero movie? Mark Webb's like, awesome, let's do that. He reinvents Peter Parker for a modern day interpretation of like what is a loser, what is a loner, and it works really well. And then he's making the second movie because he's contracted for 3, and Avi Arad is jizzing in his office saying, I want the Sinister Six, I want the Sinister Six. And he gets involved, and everything that has to do with Electro, and honestly that is shit with that movie, is Avi Arad. And they went off the rails, and people at this point probably have forgotten that in between the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the Amazing Spider-Man 3, yes, Avi Arad would have come like 5,000 times onto a Venom poster, but we were supposed to get a Sinister Six movie that was just about the villains, where Spider-Man would have a minor role, but then the Amazing Spider-Man 3 would be about him fighting the Sinister Six. And all of that was derailed. And it's also important to know that during that time, we were going to be getting a Aunt May spy movie. So Avi Arad has no chill. And he is the reason why Sony has always mishandled the property, which is why Kevin Feige was like, get him away. So he has to jizz by himself now.
That's why we get Mobius and Venom and now Carnage and everything else. I'll never forget us sitting on the back deck. And I was like, you guys hear that there's going to be a Mobius movie? He's like, no, there's not going to be one without Spider-Man. I'm like, no, what if I told you they're going to make a movie about a Spider-Man villain without Spider-Man? And then here we are. We've got Mobius waiting to be released. Sitting
it is also done.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
So the Delta variant, it's here. I don't know how this is worldwide, but at least in my area, infection rates are as high as they were during the height of the COVID pandemic that we just got through. So it's here, and it is seriously impacting the box office. And we've been speculating for a couple of weeks that if Free Guy and a few other movies don't do well, we should expect big ticket movies to continue to delay. And what happened since our last podcast? Let's see. We had Carnage. That was pushed back. That's been pushed back a couple of weeks at this point. Mm-hmm. We had Hotel Transylvania, which was supposed to be coming out in theaters in October. They sold the rights to the film straight to Amazon. So they said, hey, we're not even going to participate in this gamble right now. So they sold Hotel Transylvania 4. I think it's called Transformania. It's some weird name.
No one cares about the title.
They sold it for $100 million, which is mind-blowing to me given the state of the box office. But Amazon whipped out the checkbook. Now we're seeing that. I think we are in the midst of, I think Free Guy and Shang-Chi are going to be the two most important movies of the year.
100%.
Because if those movies don't do well in the box office with the experiment that's happening right now, which for those who haven't kept up with the news, Disney came out and they said, hey, we're going to do an experiment with these releases. Instead of doing a hybrid video on demand release, we are going to give box offices, we're going to give theaters a 45-day exclusive window. So we're going to see Free Guy and we're going to see Shang-Chi in theaters only for 45 days. And on the 46th day, they're going to be available on demand. They're the first studio that's had big time releases that have said openly, it's only going to be in theaters for this window and then it's going to be on demand. And guess what? If these movies don't do well, I don't expect to see some huge releases this year, at least not out of the gate. They're going to have to be really evaluating how they're going to release. And we have huge movies still coming out that aren't tied with HBO Max, right? We've got Ghostbusters. We've got Halloween Kills. We've got Bond, which maybe will come out as an Amazon Prime movie. But I mean, I could just keep going down the list. These are
the Eternals.
Huge. We have the Eternals. We've got, is SpiderMan this year or is it coming next year now?
It's supposed to be in December, but we have no trailer.
No trailer yet. I mean, apparently, we've got big movies still to come.
Yeah. Apparently, the Spider-Man trailer is actually going to be shown at CinemaCon next month, but not released online.
That's not going to work. It's going to get leaked so quick.
But I agree it's going to be leaked. But what a dumb thing to do. Why on earth would you even do that?
It's coming to CinemaCon and only a few people can get in, and it's in the height of another pandemic. It's ridiculous.
Well, I just feel like it's disrespectful to the fans. Why would you show it to anyone? If the trailer is ready, show it to us. If you're going to push it back till next year, that's fine. But people want to see it. Show us the trailer. So at least that way, the unnecessary hype can die down a little bit, because there's expectations on this movie that won't meet the standard.
Yeah.
Big time release is coming. And I'll tell you what, if you want to see movies in theaters, if you want to see movies come out, we've said this since the last pandemic. You have got to vote with your wallet. If you are open to going to a movie theater, you should go see Shang-Chi. You should go see Free Guy if you're marginally interested, because studios are watching. And if these movies tank, I don't expect to see some of these titles out. I don't expect them to be in theaters. They're going to come out on demand, or they're going to get pushed back to next year again. I mean, there's that much money on the line for these studios. The experiment for Free Guy seems to have worked for opening weekend. I read that it doubled its original box office expectation.
Yeah, it's only been out for 4 days, and it's already at 53 million worldwide. So
I mean, there is hope that this new strategy saves some of these films. But you look at the Suicide Squad, it's a catastrophe, which is a shame. If you guys watched us last week, we all enjoyed the Suicide Squad. It's arguably the best DC movie we've gotten. But guess what? People aren't showing up and voting with their wallets, which is what matters more than anything else. It matters more than critical success. You can't make $285 million movies and have them bring in $50 million. That's not going to happen.
Yep.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I brought it up last week or the week before. If that continues, we're going to see the end of the big budget movie. We're not going to see a $200 million movie anymore, because it's not pulling in the numbers. So, and this isn't a great example, but apparently, so The Green Knight has been out for 2 weeks, and they've already pushed it to in-home theater or in-home on demand. It's only made 15 million worldwide. Now it seems like it's really only released domestic, because it's only got 200,000 international. But its budget was only 15 million. But think about that. In 2 weeks, it's barely made back and broken even. That's
for
And it was a low budget movie.
Right.
Yeah, incredibly low budget.
That's not what you look for. That's not what a movie company is looking for. So if this continues, a movie like this is not going to be made, or it will be made even on a lower budget and released on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very extreme example to illustrate. But if this continues, we will never see a movie on the scale of Infinity War and Endgame probably ever again.
Yeah.
Ever. Because those movies needed to be billion-dollar films to turn a profit because so much money was spent on them. But we'll never see that again if this continues to trend this way.
Yeah, I read a really interesting article on Forbes that The Suicide Squad is the first movie ever to be $100 million loser following a box office success prequel or first installment in the movie. Wow. There has never been a sequel that's lost $100 million.
And doesn't deserve it.
And the list of movies that have lost $100 million, there's not many of them. And the Suicide Squad's on that. It's on that list. And it's a shame. Like you said, it does not deserve that. And that's even more telling because not only is it a legitimately fun movie, it is universally loved. Like, it's not just us saying, hey, guys, people got this wrong. This is a good movie. Like, it's critically acclaimed. It's well reviewed. If you get on Twitter or any social media platform, people are raving about how good the Suicide Squad is. But nobody showed up to support it with its wallet. And that's what's boggling to me. And that's why I think the industry is in real trouble right now.
Yep.
And I honestly, there are so many people who just don't understand it. They don't understand what's happening. They don't understand the gravity of the situation. And it's going to really suck because beyond just our own entertainment, it's going to affect hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Yep.
And people who made it their whole life goal to just be on a production team are now going to have to look elsewhere and figure something else out.
Or take a huge pay cut. A life-changing pay cut.
Which, I don't think that we need to get into the details of this miscommunication, but that is precisely why I applaud Disney with their experiment with Free Guy and Shang-Chi. This experiment very much is we're changing our release window. That's all it's about, is changing the release window and just giving those films the chance to survive. Because while they are making money on premiere access, we've talked about it ad nauseum. One $30 ticket is encompassing an entire household for the entire time. You're not paying it every time you watch it. You have access to that movie every time. So I can pay for it. Morgan and I can watch it. Clayton can come up and watch it. I can have friends come over and watch it. And that the ticker of just money lost just goes higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. So the only way to try to force some sort of course correction on money is saying, no, if you want to see it, you got to get your ass into a theater and see it within these 45 days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just to kind of echo it, I've been on Twitter a lot lately, and the DC fan base is loud and saying we need another Justice League. We need to start talking about the next installment of the Suicide Squad. Wonder Woman 84, there was a sequel announced 2 weeks after it came out. How come we're not hearing about these other films? When you don't show up and vote for it with your wallet, you're not going to get that. One of the biggest releases of this year could be Dune. Dune is still scheduled to come out. It has a massive fan base. It is on the same scale, at least from a novel standpoint, as The Lord of the Rings. You're talking the same level of hype and fandom for Dune. And they've already come out. I think it was the producer came out today and said, I don't expect to be able to make a sequel if we don't do well.
No, it was the director.
The director coming out saying, hey, this is not like The Lord of the Rings where Amazon's already greenlit season 2. If you guys don't show up and support Dune when it comes out, we're not going to get a second installment. And that is a massive universe that they could build, and a really cool universe that I think they could build. And it really sucks to know that based on how things are right now, you'd have to guess that we're not going to get a second Dune, which is tragic. So people need to support these films with their wallet, or you're just not going to get them.
Yeah. It's a very strange time.
The Dune budget is $165 million. So
without any advertising.
Yep. That's just
straight. And when you look at like the Suicide Squad, they announced they spent $100 million on advertising. It was a $185 million budget. They spent $100 million on advertising. I would expect Dune's probably spending quite a bit for advertising before it comes out. Although maybe I should take that back. Maybe Dune and some of these other movies are going to look at what's going on in the box office and really pull back that advertising budget, knowing like, I don't know if it's really going to make much of a difference. If you spend $100 million in advertising and you only make $26 million over your opening weekend, maybe it's not a good use of money.
Yeah. But honestly, like maybe money being pulled back on marketing is like the best for a lot of reasons. Like I'm tired of like trailer 3 and trailer 4 coming out for a film. Cause like, I mean, at that point you've seen so much.
Yeah.
Like I would love us to get to a point with when it comes to film where we just get one trailer, minute and a half. That's it.
Yep.
So the marketing department needs to really make sure that they're really selling the trailer. And then that's all we see.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, I'm nervous about the future of the industry. Our listeners should be nervous about the future of the industry. And I know I've said this a few times, I'm repeating myself, but you've got to support things with your wallet right now, because if Shang-Chi tanks, if a Marvel movie that's as hyped as Shang-Chi tanks, nothing can survive. Nothing. Nope. There's no film that can excel if a Marvel movie is a box office dud.
Yep, 100%. And I know that like times may feel scary for a lot of people, but like let's not lose sight of like why we love cinema. It is the perfect escapism. And if we lose that, man, that's just going to suck so hard.
It is going to suck. And Shang-Chi, the premiere's already happened. It is ultra hype right now. It is universally loved. People are saying it's one of, not just like a great movie, it's one of the best Marvel movies ever, is what I'm hearing. And I know that, there's some recency bias there, but I do think this film has that potential. I think it has potential to be in the conversation for best. I bet you it's going to be the best first installment of any Marvel movie we've gotten. And that's pretty exciting. So it's got to do well, or things will be different moving forward.
100%.
All right. Well, any other thoughts before we wrap up the podcast?
No, I have no extra thoughts.
Good, because we're getting out of here.
Okay.
That does it for this week's The Nerdosphere. Remember, if you like what we do and you're on an Apple device, scroll on down and hit that 5 stars for us and leave a few kind words too, if you don't mind. If you're not on an Apple device, that's okay. You can help in other ways. You can simply share and discuss our podcast with those you love and care about, because what makes content better? Sharing with those you love. If you really like what we do, go over to patreon.com/thenerdsphere, where you can join the Nerdosphere family and gain access to cool perks like ad-free podcasts and things like that. And until next time, we'll see you. Bye.
See ya.
Toodaloo, everybody.
All right. Well, that does it for the podcast. People watching us live, we thank you for joining us. We had a little bit of chatter in the chat. We appreciate that. When we're recording the podcast, we don't respond to chat, but we do appreciate you guys engaging with us as we talk about things. We got a guy who says Green Lantern was the best. And
Got
then
jokes, my guy.
whenever you were talking about movies that could succeed, he said Ghostbusters will. We'd like to think that
so.
We'd like to think that as well. So I mean, it looks like it will. It's just
it looks incredible. It's everything you want out of a Ghostbusters film.
Even their special effects like models the look of the effects from the first film. Like they really are just getting it right.
Yeah. So, but we really do appreciate everybody, and keep an eye out. I think we're going to start streaming our recordings from now on. Like I said, it's David Salvaggio. What's up, David? How's it going, buddy?
David, you gotta text me your shirt size so I can send you the producer shirt. Clayton finally finished it.
I finished it a long time ago. Thank you very much. You've been sitting on the design for quite a while. Thank you.
Okay, put me on blast. Why don't you? God.
You just put Clayton on blast. Finally finished it.
That was the joke.
That was the joke, Tim. Nice way to go. David, good to hear from you, bud. Hope all is well. Check us out next week. Like I said, we're going to start streaming this every week. But yeah. All right. Bye.
Goodbye.